Look what we have here. I don't think I've ever seen a cop car using these bus tracks before. That's actually really nice. I wish the game would let us choose what kind of building we want to make and not just the kind of zoning. One can only hope that would be something that would be available in City Skylines too. And now we have what seems like a gas station. Gas stations look a little bit weird in this game, to be very honest. Hello everyone, welcome to City Skylines Springwood City Unmodded Gameplay episode 17. We looked at connectivity from a transit perspective in the previous episode to balance out worker demand. In this episode we are going to continue with the theme of connectivity, but we'll be looking at it from a different perspective, such as walking as well as roads, and we'll also be zoning a few additional things. Now speaking of zoning, we have been adding a few large establishments so far, mostly occupying 4x4 squares, but obviously a city can have more kind of zonings, more smaller zonings especially, and I'm thinking we can probably add some of those kind of zones, especially here. This can be really nice in terms of variety for small and large establishments. So let's do it this way. We can probably add maybe 2 of these like so, and maybe we can add a few more like this. I know I mentioned previously that I want to leave these open for green space, but I think it is fine. These are small enough and we can probably add more green stuff behind them. And by the way, I've added offices in this, so that will reduce the industrial demand a little bit. And I think those buildings look really nice. Other than this, we can probably add some more commercial areas. And I think there is some good open space in this part of the city which can be used for this purpose. We can have things like small convenience stores or a gas station or something like that is small enough. This one square is 8 by 8 meters, by the way, so it's not that small. Usually that much can have a small store ideally. And is there something going to be built? Oh, never mind. I was just wondering if there was nothing going to be built there, but I was obviously wrong. It just took some time, and now we have what seems like a gas station. Gas stations look a little bit weird in this game, to be very honest. Usually they are larger and they have a convenience store next to them. They have a lot more space around them as well, which is not the case in this one, obviously. Let's add one more over here, see what that develops into. By the way, if you're wondering how this is connected to connectivity, I want to make sure that there is some level of mixing of different kinds of zoning even within a specific area. So in this case, they have these shops to go to and they don't have to walk all the way to this main road just to shop or go to work. We obviously don't have true mixed-use developments in this game like we talked about many episodes back, but I think this is a good alternative that we can provide our citizens. Anyway, let's go back to this. We now have 2 shops that look the same, and that's not really good. I wish the game would let us select the kind of shop along with. Oh, we have a truck that is coming to the gas station to refuel it. Okay, we probably need to do something about that. Let's see how much noise that creates. I don't really like big vehicles like trucks coming in areas like this. I mean, I get that the gas station actually needs something to bring it fuel, but I don't know if we can do that with an alternative, maybe a smaller truck. I don't know. Actually, I'm really curious now. There is a policy that helps us stop heavy traffic from coming into this district. We can probably apply that and see what happens once we do that. Obviously, it will take some time, so we'll have to revisit this a few hours later, I guess. But yeah, I'll probably expect no heavy traffic in this area. Let's see what... Oh, this building has converted into something completely different. So yeah, I was saying that I wish the game would let us choose what kind of building we want to make and not just the kind of zoning. One can only hope that would be something that would be available in City Skylines too. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing. Now, thinking about connectivity and looking at this pedestrian bridge, I wonder if we can improve the connectivity here by converting this into a pedestrian pathway. So for that, let's move this here. This would obviously be helpful for our service vehicles to get from one area to the other, and obviously it's going to be improving the connection for our pedestrians and our cyclists. So let me do this and see you guys in just a bit. Alright, so I think that's about it, and that doesn't look too bad at all. At this point, we probably don't even need that other pedestrian bridge that we previously had, so we can go ahead and remove this. And oh, that building got demolished. I think I messed up with the zoning and all that, but anyway, that is good. That building might eventually be rezoned, but this bridge looks really nice. We have pedestrians using it, which is perfect. And along with that, I just want to see if there are any... Oh yeah, there you go. So we have the city service vehicles using it as well, which is really good. All right, so before we move forward, a quick note. We have an Instagram account now. I'll be mostly using it to share unseen shots of the city, especially things like street view, and also in general to connect with my audience a little bit better. So once you finish watching this video, please use the link in the description and follow me on Instagram. I really appreciate that. And now back to the video. One of the other places I'll improve the connectivity is Crest Village, specifically for emergency vehicles in this part. And that's because there is no quick connection to that part from the main road. So we are going to add a small segment of a pedestrian pathway, something like this. I use sandstone for this because I know I haven't been using it that much. Let's probably change the style of this to something like this. Yeah, I think that looks much better. There's a stray home here which is not in a pedestrian area for some reason. So let me clean this up and let me add some landscaping. I'll probably do that off screen. So I think this is good for now. Alright, before moving forward real quick, I want to add a few more extractors just because we have some more industrial demand. It is not connected to our concept of connectivity. It's mainly to keep expanding our industrial area that we have been developing. And ironically, it didn't reduce the industrial demand. So at this point, I don't really know what I'm doing with my life. But jokes apart, I think these ones don't really have that many workers, obviously as compared to these ones. So we'll need to expand on this to balance out the demand. But obviously that's not the subject of this video. So we'll deal with this later on. Also, I spy something interesting with my little eyes. Look what we have here. I don't think I've ever seen a cop car using these bus tracks before. That's actually really nice. So I'll make sure to use that in the future. Why are you having a garbage issue? Okay, there's a garbage truck coming, which by the way is still using this road to come here. I actually made this road several episodes back just because they did not have a better connection to come here, but at this point they have the highway to get here. So I'm assuming that is still a longer route for them. And I just realized that they don't really have a quick connection to get here anymore, especially after we moved our recycling centers from here to here in the previous episode. I think previously the fastest route for them would have been this, while this one is probably the fastest route now. So instead of this, we can probably provide a connection for them through the highway that looks something like this. We'll obviously need an interchange here, and this is something we have talked about a few times in the past. I think it might be time to put it into action. Now back to this road, we can probably convert this into a pedestrian pathway or a bus route. Speaking of which, I'm wondering if the bus route would be used by a garbage truck just like we saw with the cop car before. And this is actually the perfect time for this question because we have two cop cars and a garbage truck right now on this route. So let's test this out and see if this works. Let's make this segment into a bus route and let's see. I think the cop car would obviously pass by, but yes, the garbage truck is going back. It makes sense because cop car is an emergency vehicle while garbage truck is a service vehicle. But anyway, let's get back to our subject at hand. I'm actually really inclined to make this into a pedestrian path with bus lanes. Although, why is there some oh, I think that's probably just emergency vehicles. Let me just give it a minute to clear up. In the meantime, let me add a few more industries just to balance the demand a little bit and just making sure this is in the right district. And I think that looks good. Anyway, we are back to this now and this road doesn't have any more traffic. So let me do this and see you guys in just a minute. Alright, so I think that looks pretty good. This definitely would improve the connectivity for both our pedestrians as well as buses. Now since we have this in place, I think it makes sense to add a bus line as well, especially one that connects Cozy District with both the monorail as well as the industrial area. So let me do this and see you guys in just a minute. Alright, so this is what I ended up doing. The purple line that you see is the new line which connects the monorail station as well as the blue line in the industrial area to the residents of Cozy District right over here. Not just that, it also connects to the green line that you see here that goes beyond into the city through Foggy Heights. Anyway, let's check the number of buses we have on this line. Alright, we have 7, we don't need that many, we can reduce this to 2 and check it later on.
20 minutes later.
Alright, let's do a quick efficiency check of both of these lines. The monorail is saving 70% of car trips and there are some more passengers using it, which is good. And on the other hand, the bus line is saving close to 60%, which is not too bad. This is definitely an improvement as compared to before. Alright, so at this point we have improved the connectivity of our city quite a bit. Now let's move on to the most important part of this video, which is creating the new interchange. Now while we do that, I also want to make one more change, which is to bring back this road connection here. We had it previously back in episode 10 when we were planning this style, but it was eventually removed and now we have this. But the reason to bring it back is because right now for anyone to go from here to here, they have to take this longer route, which doesn't make sense. We can instead make a shorter route like this one to improve the connectivity in this area. So let me work on this as well as the interchange and see you guys in a few minutes. Alright, so at this point our interchange is complete. It is going to apply some lane math as we talk. So as you can already tell, I ended up doing a modified version of a cloverleaf interchange. Usually a classic cloverleaf looks like this, which is known for one specific problem called weaving, which is when cars from one direction are trying to exit while cars from the other direction are trying to enter, and this creates a choke point especially on smaller interchanges. Now there are several ways to fix this, but the way I'm doing this is by providing separate ramps which don't intersect at all. Obviously this is not so much of a problem for us because this interchange is quite large, but I'm still designing it this way to prepare for the future because this interchange is going to be the one major interchange to get into the city in the future. Now we're done with the interchange itself, but we still need to make the connection that will connect the highway to the city road. And like I mentioned earlier, this highway will be connected to this road, but we'll also connect it to this road, especially because that was designed with the intention of being an arterial road, and I still intend to keep it that way. We also need to keep in mind that this road is a collector road, meaning it has buildings and traffic will be stopping there, so we'll need to give enough space for on and off ramps if we have an interchange near it. But that's all for the future. For now, I'm just going to stick with a simple roundabout and see how the traffic pattern establishes, and based on that, I'll be changing it later on. So let me do this and see you guys in just a minute. Alright, so this is done. We're already seeing vehicles using this, which is perfect. Just checking the traffic for this. Obviously, this is not that old, so we won't have much traffic right now, but we're already seeing some choke points in this area especially. And looking at it from a more macro perspective, it looks like this. We have a traffic flow of 92%, although we have a lot of traffic jam areas on the right here, which we'll need to fix at some point. Obviously, this is going to be phased out at some point, and we'll be primarily using this interchange as our main connection into the city. And in this context, we can probably test out one thing, which is basically to switch off these ramps and see how that impacts the rest of the city and the traffic. So that's something to look forward to. Also, one thing I did not talk about was why did I make an elevated highway here instead of maybe a sunken one or an at-grade one? And I'll talk about my rationale for this, but not in this episode. That will be one of the highlights of the next episode. We'll do something interesting with that. So this brings us to the end of this episode. We did a lot in this one, and I'm actually quite happy with all the different ways in which we have improved the connectivity in the city, both in this as well as the previous episodes. In the next episode, as I've mentioned, we'll be looking at something interesting about the elevated highway that we've built, and we'll also be doing a few other things that would be equally interesting. So if you want to see that, please subscribe so you'll know when I upload the next video. And if you like this one, please leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.